there's no reason to use a cheap disposable razor or pay a ridiculously high price for gimmicks. Make the smarter choice and join Dollar Shave Club like my boy Tim did. Have you seen him lately? No more neck beard. It's beautiful. Get a close shave every time, and you can't beat the convenience or the price. If you haven't tried Dollar Shave Club yet, you're missing out. It's an amazing shave at an affordable price. There's no smarter choice on the market. And right now, they're giving away a 1-month trial of any of their razors for $1 with free shipping. And after that, it's just a few bucks a month. There's no long-term commitment, no hidden fees, and you cancel whenever you want. Get your dollar trial at dollarshaveclub.com/Greggy. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Greggy.
Rooster Teeth is now 14 years old.
We
15?
just had our 14th birthday. We're now heading into our 15th year.
That was my final day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were April
party.
1st. You parted ways. Yeah, we just launched RWBY season 15. So RWBY for a while was a little bit more than one season a year. And so it got a little bit ahead. So we'll wrap RWBY season 15 and then we'll have our 15th birthday about 6 months later.
Man.
Pretty nuts.
So RWBY, you were totally involved for the first 10 seasons?
Yes. I mean, that was my show. I wrote and directed the show and everything. And it's like what we consider to be the founders of Rooster Teeth now were essentially the cast members of the show. And for a long time, it was our only show. It was, I mean, we had some other stuff we tried to do. I did some miniseries and things like that. But for probably 7 years, it was really the only thing that we did, which is crazy to think about now. That, you know, even a show as big as RWBY, I would never bank everything on RWBY for the next 7 years. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So, you know,
so you did that for the 7 years, and as you're doing that, like you still have Rooster Teeth as a brand, right?
Right. It was Rooster Teeth presents Red versus Blue.
So I'm sure in the first, say, 3 to 5 years of doing it, like you knew it was a success, but like where did you see Rooster Teeth going at that point?
At that point, well, you know, I was a startup CEO because I was also CEO of the company. It started in a spare bedroom in my house. And as a startup CEO, it's a different mentality where, you know, I was watching everything, watching the bottom line very closely. Also had this kind of idea that this is entertainment and it's online, which is a cross-section of two very volatile careers. So I had a feeling like this could go away at any moment, you know? And
do you still feel that way?
No, I don't feel that way now. You know, that vlog I did that we were talking about in a previous segment, we were talking about just the different business models of Rooster Teeth. So when something like the ad apocalypse happens on YouTube, we know about it and we're aware of it, and we definitely feel bad for people who are very affected by it. But for us, it's like pre-roll ads could evaporate entirely, and it doesn't take our business away. We have so many other aspects to our business. But yeah, I was just looking at growing things and keeping going. I probably, 5-6 years in, that's when YouTube was starting to get big. So I was looking at that and going, that'll never be a thing, you know? But, YouTube got to the point where online video meant YouTube after a while. And so then we had to come up with a YouTube strategy. That strategy was Achievement Hunter, essentially. The first video we ever put on YouTube was the trailer for season 6 of Red versus Blue, if that tells you anything. That's our first video on YouTube. So we were already 6 years in as a company at that point in time. So
yeah, wow. That is insane.
Good Lord.
So going from there, then you have your Red versus Blue, and you're scared to go on YouTube, and not scared, but you feel like it's not going to go anywhere.
I don't know why would I put my videos on somebody else's site. So it sounds weird now, but back then it was like, this is some other website.
Now that you know that YouTube is what it is, and that it's necessary as its own thing that's not going to eat away from your thing, roosterteeth.com. Are you more open to when you hear about things being successful? Are you more open to be like, I should probably...
The big thing for that is social media. Anytime a new social media network, you kind of hear about it. It's like, oh, everybody's on, Bing Bong. It's like, what's Bing Bong? And then you hear it a couple more times, and you're like,
Bing Bong's hot right now.
Do I got to check this Bing Bong thing out?
You got to.
And the next thing you know, it's Snapchat.
Next thing you know, you're bonging twice a day, and it's just,
Wiz Khalifa's
your whole
there.
life. You're like, you're checking everything. Then you're a vlogger at 44 years old. Yeah. But it is like, I could give it my experience with Snapchat. Finally, Snapchat wasn't just, a place where you send pictures of your genitals to people. It was a thing that everybody was using. I log on to it. I go to register my name. Burnie's taken. All right, Burnie Burns. Burnie Burns is taken. I'm like, done. I'm out. I literally say I just started an Instagram account because I got the name Burnie on Instagram.
Good.
Literally April 2017, I started an Instagram account.
Follow him on Instagram, @Burnie.
Yeah, so follow me on Instagram.
You're not an underscore guy. I appreciate that. Unlike some of the weaker of our kind.
What?
Nick _Scarpino.
Does he do that? Yeah.
He's fucked.
I'm a big believer in, probably because I come from the .com era where you had domain names. Like I have Burnie.com and I have Burnie on Twitter and I have Burnie on Instagram. I'm not going to have like my Snapchat account.
Burnie official.
It's so sad. It's real Burnie. That's my Snapchat name. So, and I know on Snapchat is less important for that.
Yeah.
But I still just like can't be bothered.
I do want it to become an inside joke to where I'm just constantly messaging you like, hey, what's up? And then like you never respond. And just constant tweets of like, hey, just check my Snapchat message. Like, I want that to become a thing. And I'm going to make it a thing, Burnie, just to let you know.
Well, Snapchat's kind of weird because it's supposed to be ultra private in that even the messages disappear, which I'm assuming is for a privacy thing for people sending kind of racy snaps.
I think it's just more because it keeps it fun.
Is that what it is?
It gives a timer to it where you're just like, you have to look at this
You
thing.
can save the stuff if you want. Like a few friends of mine chat on there and my friend will save all of our chats so he remembers what the fuck we were talking about. Because there's so many times where like I'll respond to a snap like 7 hours later and somebody will respond to me like, what were we even talking about? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, or there's a reply and like, what are you replying to? Yeah.
Why is your dick here? Yeah.
But yeah, it's so on Snapchat, it's just one of those things where I go and watch people's stories and instantly regret doing that.
Yeah.
But it's probably just because I'm old, you know? And I recognize people are having fun with the little face filters and all that stuff. I'm just like, it took some time to do that. You know? That's some impressive technology that could be put to much better use than that.
Well, the scary thing is, you know that it is, and we just don't know what those uses are yet. But Snapchat knows. Snapchat's doing them somewhere.
Yeah. It's all just, they're collecting all your data and everything. Like, it was no surprise to me when there was a subpoena that went to Snapchat about a user's, some court case where they needed the user's chat history, and Snapchat goes, yeah, we have that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be deleted, but
no, of course they
nobody. Why delete something if you cannot delete it?
No,
that's
exactly
what all these big companies think.
Yeah. Shout out to nude pictures. That's literally how I live my life. Why delete them when you could not delete them?
Like Facebook said, oops, we forgot to make everything public. The default was private. So they went through a major upheaval on their platform to make sure everything was default public.
Yeah.
Because they saw the value in having all that content be searchable. And the Amazon Echo, this awesome little voice-activated device in your house, now suddenly has a camera because guess what? We forgot to put a camera in people's houses, but we did put a microphone in. So now they have that. Yeah.
It's horrifying to think about where that all could
Big
go.
Brother-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
What topic is this?
This topic is kind of just turning into
miscellaneous.
When we were talking about
Potpourri. We're talking about RT.
Yeah, but we're talking about RT. The jump off point, I'm forgetting now, but it was something about people leaving and dealing with it, and then we're talking about Meg leaving.
We were talking about when you notify people and you called us and said...
We're talking about Andy. Yeah. That's what it was.
Let's bring it back to me.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking about it.
We're poaching Andy.
So I'm interested very selfishly because Kind of Funny is growing rapidly. Like we kind of took the 2-year plan for what Rooster Teeth did, where like you guys 7 years or whatever of Red versus Blue before you started doing all the other stuff. Like we are just kind of like hit the ground running. Let's copy the model that they're doing. They did live events. How can we put a spin on a live event?
Yeah.
You know, they nail podcasts. How can we do that? Like Let's Plays, if not invented by Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter, more so like defined, I would say, by Achievement Hunter and what they do. We kind of just look at all that and we're like, all right, what's our spin on all those things?
Yeah.
So I'm always interested in like the decisions you made and like what you might have regretted, and also just what you necessarily like, what made you change things and how you dealt with it. Big specific thing is Red versus Blue.
Yeah.
First 5 seasons, very much dick jokes.
Yeah, very comedic, very lighthearted, like low plot.
Like a plot that gets the characters to the next joke they need to get to, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Season 6 comes, and it is a total tonal shift in terms of there is a narrative being told.
Right.
Still jokes, still very funny, but it was building towards something. And I think that from season 6 through 10, there was a lot of weird back and forth, and I know that had a lot of audience feedback to it. How did you kind of take that audience feedback and let it either make the decisions that you were making or ignore it and just kind of do what you felt was right?
Well, there's 2 things in there. First of all, when you read comments on the internet, and I think you should read comments on the internet, you tend to internalize the negative ones with a higher weight than the positive ones. First of all, most of the views are positive. Most people don't leave a comment. Most people don't leave feedback. Those are the people who like the video and they come back, and that's expressed in the number of views.
Just like the people that don't leave surveys. They had a good time, but I'm not going to fill out a survey.
No, what am I doing that
for?
for?
You had a shitty time.
You're going to fill
Guess
out that
what?
survey.
Guess what? Yelp people. I guarantee people register a Yelp account for the first time to do a negative review.
Sure, yeah.
I would like to see the number of negative reviews, like for the first review, what the incidence of that is on Yelp.
Actually, mine was totally positive my first time.
What'd you review?
Smashburger near RT.
Really?
The guy who worked there, his name was also Andy. He was like, Andy, what's going on? Hey, man, I have the same name. I was like, cool, man. That's fun. And then he was like, hey, if you give us a positive review, get you a free entree next time on Yelp.
Oh, that's
cool.
like,
all right. Fuck yeah. Created a Yelp account. I was like, Andrew was great. He killed it.
So it's
Got a
either
free burger.
like negative reviews or sellout hacks.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the only two sides.
exactly
Which
what it
feels
is.
like very apt for the conversation we're having, where you either are the best person ever giving the fans what they want, or you're a fucking sellout. Right?
Sure. No, there is some of that. It's always that's the negative people amidst the, there's all these comments of like, cool, or they're quoting something from the episode or saying a funny quote from a podcast, and they're showing their appreciation that way. Then all of a sudden the negative comment shows up, and it seems more analytical, which makes it seem more thoughtful. And that's a trap you can fall into. Not the case at all. I mean, it's just someone who didn't like it, and they're trying to stand out in the crowd. But it's kind of like if you went to the mall and or went out for the amusement park for the day and you ran into 50 people and they all said hello, and one guy walked up to you and said, I hate your fucking shirt. When you went home, they say, how was the amusement park? You go, there was this guy, it kind of defines your experience amidst all these, wonderful things. So I think you do have to pay attention to feedback. In the case of Red versus Blue, we'd gone 5 seasons. I had the opinion that we didn't have to make content like TV, so I gave that storyline an ending point so that people could stop watching the series after 5 years, which felt phenomenally long to me at that point. And it also gave new people a point to jump on. And so that's why we changed it and had more of a storyline. And season 6 to this day is still my favorite thing that I've ever written. And then season 7 was super important to me because that's when Gavin Free came on and directed it. I kept telling other people at the company, I want somebody else to take over the show or work on the show and direct it. And people go, you don't want that. And I'm like, okay. So I hired this 17-year-old kid from Britain to come over and do it instead. And then started the relationship with Gavin, which then, led to such amazing things like what him and Michael did for Let's Play and Achievement Hunter is just like, is incredible. I mean, it was, Jack and Jeff started something really amazing, but there was this moment when, Michael and Gavin showed up, and shortly after that, Ray, and then Ryan was working at the company, was working different stuff. But it was like that moment when the Team Lads formed, it's just like locked that thing in as a phenomenon, And so it's like, you just build on things, you just, you make little steps, and sometimes you don't really see what you're doing at the time. But if you stay true to your core values, and for us, that's make content that we would want to watch, then you're building those, every step's the right one, so it send you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs has a great quote about it. He said, you can't always connect the dots going forward, but it's very easy to connect the dots looking backward. See how everything led to where you are, but you just have to have the faith that the dots will connect at some point in the future when you're there making it.
I thought you were going to say, don't go on an all-fruit diet. I thought that was going to be his quote.
Also that. That won't cure every disease.
Before we
and
were,
a total paraphrase, by the way. I butchered that quote.
I'm sure
but,
the point was there. Before we were filming this, we were talking about Red vs. Blue, like in the early days, and because we were talking about the Kind of Funny animated series and how we totally were over our abilities when we committed to what we were trying to do within the timeline that we were going, where we're like, we're going to get an episode out a month, and it proved to be way harder than that because there's so many moving parts and so many other people involved, and we'd been so used to it's just us, so if we fuck up, that's our fault. Whereas now it was like, oh shit, someone else isn't getting what they need to get done. It's still all our fault, but we can't fix it. And it was interesting. You were saying that Red versus Blue, you guys were writing that, and like you were doing an episode week to week. How long did that last?
Through season week to week, season 8. The first season of Red versus Blue that I ever wrote in advance, had the full script, was season 10. Every other script, I had an outline for what the season was going to be. I still do this with Miles, who's the head writer, and now Joe Nicolosi. We say we're starting here in episode 1 of this season. We want to get to about 20 episodes. This is where we want to be. And then we just kind of like put little milestones in it every 3 or 4 episodes. And then every episode gets us a little closer to that next milestone, the next step. And that's the way we did it. But I would write the script for a Red versus Blue episode that was coming out on Friday. I would write it on Monday every week. And it wouldn't be written before that.
That is utterly insane. But back then, that was all that you were doing.
I'm sure
quote,
Matt
unquote.
and Gus and Jeff will tell you that Monday is me being flowery in my memory. It was probably like Wednesday sometimes when the script would show up, and then we'd rush to get everything done. And then we'd have off season.
Yeah.
The show would run for 20 weeks a year, 4 PSAs, so it was about half the year. And then the rest of the time we could work on, things like Panics or Strangerhood, which we tried, branching out into machinima, and then realized eventually, let's not keep pressing the same button again and again. Let's do something new. So we started doing live action shorts and things like that, and Achievement Hunter and other things as well. But we wanted to make Achievement Hunter for years. Like, we talked about it over and over again. Like, the first podcast we have, we're talking about wanting to start Achievement Hunter.
Wow.
Yeah, we had like contests. Jeff and I were doing contests to test our audience's appetite for gaming content in general, and not just narrative stuff like we were doing with Red versus Blue.
Yeah, man. See, that blows my mind, because the Red versus Blue to me was so important, and especially in the early seasons. But then when season 6 came, like I'll never forget seeing the trailer for that and being like, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of people have that reaction.
Where are the characters I know and love? Like, what's going on? But I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Like, I'll see how I feel about this. And then I remember watching episode 1, and then there's the twist at the end where it's like, all right, no, we are going back. We are getting the characters.
Right.
And that was such a moment where you earned my trust as a fan, where I'm like, oh shit, you are listening. You do care. And I was like, holy shit, this is great. And yeah, season 6, like for me, my favorite season, I think overall, is 6. Somewhere between the CG elements of 9 and 10. I also think there's like the whole freelancer saga.
Yeah.
There's just such a great story there. And Kevin would come over every single week, and we would watch it as soon as the episodes went live, and we would talk about it. And I was always so blown away at how intricate all the especially with the AIs and all the freelancer characters. I would have sworn that you had that shit scripted out and like planned, like the 5 seasons planned.
Big stuff like that, like the storyline. Yeah. And in fact, season 6 existed because Nathan Zellner, a guy who doesn't get enough really credit in the history of Rooster Teeth, after season 5, there was all this wrapping up of the text storyline. I don't want to bore people who don't watch Red versus Blue, but I was explaining to Nathan the backstory that I had for all that stuff about the freelancers and everything, and he said, and I had built out the whole backstory just to make this to be able to write it and make it seem true. And Nathan said, "That seems really interesting. Why don't you just make a story that's about that stuff?" And I was like, "Well, I feel like I already have with text." And he's like, "Nobody hasn't been on screen. Nobody knows that stuff." They're like, "Oh, okay." So then did that. Wrote that story. But I, didn't start off in season 1 knowing where we're going to be in season 10. But after, a while of making it, you should just start to think about, like, where could this go and what could this be,
So what kind of hand do you have in it now? Do you just kind of approve things and look
Red
at
versus
things?
Blue?
Yeah.
Major story stuff, like a script approval. But no, when I handed off to Miles, I really was 10 years, dude. It's a long time to work on a show. And we had some, like Matt did such heavy lifting in season 10 as well for the directing of it as well. In season 9, too. And then we had Monty, who did so much work on it. And so those things were...
You got more water, by the way?
Yeah, that'd be great. Should I walk away and get it?
No, okay.
I feel like a jackass asking someone else to get my water. But but in season 10, I want to work on other stuff,
Yeah.
And so we found Miles, somebody who got the voice of the characters. And I hope Miles would agree with this. I mean, he's had as close as you can get to full autonomy of running a show that's been going for 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I had a voice in it, the people who watch it are always going to have whether or not they realize it, they contribute to that show just through their comments.
Yeah.
You can't just do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
You have to have a purpose for what you're doing.
Well, what's cool about that is this kind of goes back to the nostalgia topic we were doing, where it's like the difference between just having something be nostalgic and really going back and nailing that feeling that you had. I feel like Miles and what he did with seasons 11 through 13 was somehow even more genuine than what if you had continued it, because what he knows of Red versus Blue as a fan and as somebody that like connected with the characters, he knew what those characters should do.
Like a J.J. Abrams and George Lucas thing. Almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
I say that a lot for the second and third generation of creators at Rooster Teeth is a lot of people, when they talk about the story of Rooster Teeth, they talk about the founders a lot because we started this thing and grew it and everything else. But people like Gavin and Miles, Michael, now Blaine and other people,
Barbara,
they actually have a way more complete story of Rooster Teeth than we do, because we don't have the fan experience. We don't have the community experience. They have that, and then they also have the creator experience.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, that second and third generation is more a true story of Rooster Teeth than the people that started it.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic, and I definitely feel that. Like I know those people really well now, and like seeing Blaine when I first like met you years ago, Blaine was an intern. And I remember meeting him, and he was super gung-ho and just like, I'm just trying to do something. He still had the arms. But, you know, he was just like super stoked to be there. Right? Yeah. And he would just do all that shit. And then now seeing him, and he's like directing things, like directing $1 Million. But I'm like, holy shit, man. Like you're doing real stuff. Like seeing how, we always talk about how much Rooster Teeth's grown. Every single time I visit down there, you have another airplane hangar, you know? And it's just like, there's just so many people working there. And it's just like, it's insane that there's that much talent doing that many different things. And it's not just red versus blue.
I give a lot of credit to the older guys because they're not very precious. Like Gus started RTX and then got it to a point. It's like he handed over to Bethany and her group, you know, Jeff's handed over the reins on Achievement Hunter a couple different times.
Yeah.
You know, I handed over the reins on Achievement Hunter, some of our other big series that I was working on for years. Like Day 5, that was something I had been developing and building that story out. But Josh Flanagan is the guy that should be the showrunner for that, you know? And he proved that in the first season. And you have to be able to do that. If we just waited around for all of us to have the availability to write and direct something, they just wouldn't get made. You know? And at the end of the day, we want to see this stuff get made because we like it.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I hope we get to that point one day.
I have one quick question. At the start of your RT shorts, like when you started getting that whole series going, was it something that you just did on a whim? Or was it something that like, all right, we have a planned out of 10 episodes that we're going to come out with? Or was it just like, hey, I have a cool idea. Let's film this someday.
All right. So I'm going to reveal something that I have as a management strategy, which I employ on a fairly regular basis over the course of the last decade and a half. And that is, you get artists around, they talk about stuff they're going to do. And a lot of times it's like, well, let's do it. Let's do it. And what I'll do is we talk about it, and then I'll say, I'll just come in one day and I'll say, oh, hey, I made a live action short. And it was the first ever RT short was me and Gus in the hallway of the Congress office imitating that ninja cat where the guy leans out and the cat keeps getting closer every time he leans back out. But I did it with Gus, and Gus getting further and further down the hallway. And after that, nobody wants to get left behind. So then everybody jumps on board. They're like, okay, no, let's do this. And suddenly we're making RT shorts. Same thing happened with Achievement Hunter. We talked about, the joke we make is we called it Achievement, but it sounded like some weird gay porn site. But we kept talking about it. And so in my journal on the Rooster Teeth website, I just started putting up Call of Duty videos at the time, like recording me playing Mile High Club. And people went nuts. And then all of a sudden it was this feeling of, oh, now we're doing this. And then Jack and Jeff got ravenous about it and then started off the races. And then I just kind of went, okay, you know, like this and step back. So sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you just kind of, it's easy to think like, well, when we get to this, it'll be amazing. Sometimes it's like, well, your first ones aren't going to be amazing, but you need to make those first ones in order to get to your, in the case of Achievement Hunter, your 300,000th one or however many videos they've made at this point. I think they're over like 6,000 videos that's been produced by Achievement Hunter.
God.
Yeah. I mean, some of their series have 300 episodes.
Yeah.
400 episodes.
That is insane.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. See, it's interesting hearing you say that because, like, I'm one of those guys. I'm totally one day I'm going to do this. Like, we're going to do shorts. I've been talking about doing shorts for my entire life at this point. But it's so easy to fall back on things. Like, for us, we're podcasters. At the end of the day, we do podcasts. So it's like what you were saying earlier about I just press the button and do it again. It's so hard to stop that when we're good at that. And that's what the audience knows us for.
They'll also give you the feedback when you do something like an animated show of like just podcast.
Just podcast. Yeah. And like, so, I mean, I'm sure you still get that when you do different things. But at this point, you guys do so much that it's like, I don't know.
It's become part of the brand that like Rooster Teeth can do whatever they want now. I think you've sort of won that faith from
every vlog I put up to this day. There'll be, I mean, there's a lot of comments, but there'll be at least 3 or 4 comments saying, "Stop doing this. Make RWBY." And it's like, but you think my vlog is replacing RWBY? You know, but it's just people want that thing they like, you know?
You have to fucking animate in Maya, but you're too busy making that fucking vlog, dude.
I know, dude.
You're in charge of all those animations.
Otherwise, I'd be compositing right now.
Yeah. Motion capturing.
That's it. I'm the motion capture guy.
Yeah.
Well, how crazy, last question for you. How crazy is it that RWBY exists and is bigger than Red versus Blue ever was, and Red versus Blue was such a big thing?
I take a lot of personal pride in RWBY as a show because I had a ton of faith in Monty. He wanted to make the show, and it's real easy Now, when RWBY is a global phenomenon that has been produced in the US and is now distributed in Japan and other places, it's real easy to say, oh, that was a good bet. You know, the first season was brutal. People were like, what the hell is this show? It was when the existing audience with Red vs. Blue and Achievement Hunter, they saw RWBY. They're like, well, it's all girls and it's anime. It's like, what is this? But we had a person who believed in it with a really strong creative vision, who then amazingly built this incredible team. You know, Kerry Shawcross was 18 when he came to work for us. I think I met him when he was like 16 at PAX, and I was his mentor in high school. He had some kind of mentoring program, and I was just like, oh my God, okay, I'll do this for this kid. Meeting Kerry Shawcross was like, I don't know how. Belated, right? Yeah, happy belated birthday. I don't know how he ever kept his spirits up, because I was like, all right, I'll do this mentor thing. He asked me 3 times. I turned him down twice. The third time, I was like, here's what I'll do. I'll do 1 phone call a month. I'm not coming down to San Antonio because that's where he lived. I'm not going to write anything. I go, if you have to write a report, if I have to do that, you write the report and I'll sign it. And he's like, okay. He's a 16-year-old kid. And so I did that. And then he was an intern for us. And now he directs our biggest show. That's insane. Ever. Yeah. Ever. Yeah.
And he kills it, man. Every time I see him, he's like stressing out of his mind. Yeah. But then he's also having a great time, which is kind of, that's what it means to make it, as far as I'm concerned. Like, if you're not stressed out about doing the thing that you love doing, you're not doing it well enough. Yeah. You know, or doing it hard enough, at least.
Yeah. I really do wish that people had a better work-life balance, but at the same time, I know there were points in my life where I didn't. Work was the most important thing to me. When you're making something and people are watching it, it's intoxicating. You know, it's like, wow, I'm reaching out and I'm connecting with these people and they like it. I'm getting feedback and I'm feeling rewarded for being able to make this thing. It's really cool. But you do have to take some time every now and then to breathe.
Well, Burnie, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Andy, thank
so
you
many
for
topics
joining us as well.
Hey, I was here too.
Yeah, this is great.
I can't wait to see how you guys are going to split up the 3rd and 4th topic.
Oh, no, trust us. We do this all the time.
Oh, yeah?
Me and Kev have this like unwritten thing where it's just like it reaches a point where it's like, all right, cool, this is going to be the breaking point. So we got it.
Hour 8.
It's going to be good. Let us know in the comments what you think about this, and tell Burnie that he should come to Kind of Funny Live 3 and say hi and do a vlog and do all that cool stuff. You should also get your tickets, kindoffunny.com/KFL3. I'm just trying to find any way to bring up people should buy tickets for this thing.
Absolutely.
Because they should. It's going to be a
Where can they buy tickets if they want to?
They can buy tickets at kindoffunny.com/KFL3. Burnie, where can people find you?
Roosterteeth.com. That's the place to go to see us.
And what do you recommend people check out?
If you've never seen Rooster Teeth before, the best place to start is the Rooster Teeth Animated Adventures. Then, if you like that, have another show that I made a couple years ago that I really love called $1 Million But. You've been on the show. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a live-action version of the Rooster Teeth Animated Adventures. It's really silly conversations that we go and film, and it's a ton of fun to make.
Hell yeah. Till next time.
It's been our pleasure,
to serve you. Yeah. Thank you, Andy. I forgot about there's an end catchphrase.
I got you,
as well.
Don't worry. I'm here, dude. I'm here.
I'm proud to be one of the 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 3 friends.
At this table.
There you go.
Thanks for watching this episode of the GameOverGreggy Show. Click here to subscribe. Click here to support us on Patreon. Click here to see other episodes. Click here to go into a portal to take you to Kind of Funny Games. I'm Greg. I kind of made all this happen. But I mean, not in like a conceited way. I'm just saying if I didn't want to do the Oreo show ever, then it would have never happened. I hope Kevin isn't mad at me. You mad at me, Kevin?